Today's episode is brought to you by the life, death, and rebirth of Banana Mode.
Drop the beat!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to HighNoon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, The Blevins, and with me, as always, right over there is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much, man. How you doing?
Not too bad. I had to test out my finger pointing, my correct finger pointing opposite Twitch chat podcast finger pointing practice that we did so much.
Are you over there? I don't even see it.
Yep, we still got it. But we also have a lot of stuff to talk about this week. So I am going to reduce the offshoot tangents as much as possible. So let's get right into it. We've got some housekeeping. We have a new patron. Yeah. Mr. Ryan B.
Kind of, we'll talk about that.
Oh, that's true. Okay, we'll talk.
Somebody with like a second account at another patron.
Was that this week, or was it? I thought that happened last week. Did we talk about?
I don't know. I thought it was right after we recorded, but before the episode went live.
Maybe.
Well, either way, we've officially gotten to the point where
yes.
we're going to force the Blevins to make.
For some reason, I thought we did this last week, but I guess we didn't. Yes.
I could be wrong.
I don't know. We'll do it twice. I'm fine recognizing it twice. Our newest patron, Mr. Ryan B. Thank you so much for that. We are officially, whether we announced it last time or not, I definitely announced it on Twitter, we are officially at the $50 patron goal that we set out from the onset, and that means everyone's dream came true except for mine. I'm going to be making some stupid, the most talented Overwatch baked goods ever. I've officially decided on cupcakes, and I've got some cupcake specialists in on this. We're going to be doing something cool. So,
yeah, there's a video up on Patreon for you patrons that are already with us here, so you can see a little bit of insight. You were actually shopping for the stuff at the time that you made the video, and you managed to not run over any old ladies in the grocery store while recording.
Well, it didn't look like I ran over as many as I did.
Oh, okay. It must have been a small one. There wasn't much of a bump.
No.
But
it's got tangled in that beautiful, luscious beard.
Yes, it's coming along nicely. Like you said, making that video from the angle, it looked bigger than it normally does on the show. So
yeah, the camera angle added 10 pounds to the beard, which was great. But I did have a special request from Ryan B. As one of the rewards of being a patron, you get to make me read a message or sing in this case, and. We're doing it here. I'm embracing my inner hex and going full sellout mix. So, as per the request of Ryan B., our newest patron, I like chicken, I like liver, meow mix, please deliver. Don't know why. Don't know what that's in reference to.
Don't really need a reason.
Don't really need a reason.
Just like that you had to read it.
It happened. So, if you guys want to hear me do something a little more, I don't know, voicey, I can do that too. I got a lot of voices up my sleeve. And down
he'll probably learn an impression to please the patrons, so feel free to make really awkward requests.
I will try to the best of my ability.
He's struggled with really feminine sounding voices.
Really? Like there's certain registers I just can't physically do, which is sad. Yeah. But there's some that I can. Okay, that's enough of that. Moving right along, a couple people asked us about the Discord link. That is coming at the end of the month. All the patrons will be getting a link. All that stuff, all the patron rewards, except for I don't feel bad doing the messages in real time. All the patron rewards besides the initial message will be delivered at the end of the month. As per Patreon's methodology and just the way that it works. It's going to all be delivered at the end of the month, so the patron links and all the other rewards will be delivered then. So take a look at your watches, guys. There's still a couple of days left if you want to get in for this month's rewards. There's still plenty of tiers to check out and all that stuff. Check us out at patreon.com/HighNoon Podcast. All right. So let's move right along. That's all the housekeeping we've got for now. Let's move on to our regularly scheduled segment. What did we do last week? Deathblow, let's start with you, buddy.
Well, I found a new team for Overwatch. We're not named yet. It's a bunch of guys just starting out in the competitive scene, I do believe. So it's been a lot of fun practicing with them. I got my ranked rating back up to a new season high. So I undid the damage that the last tryout I did caused my account to drop me to like Blevins level of mediocrity.
Whoa. I've gone nowhere but up.
But yeah, either way, we're real close to 60. We almost got there last night, but we're still doing a little bit of work to get us back up there. I think we've got another full month of the season, so I'm really kind of hoping we can get the team up to 70, but we'll have to wait and see. We got one guy already, Waku, he's already like 64, 65 or so, and nobody's really too far behind me, just a couple levels back. So they are all listening right now, so I'll give you guys my honest opinion of them next week once they've gotten sick of listening to the show. They think I'm buttering them up right now, so I'll just lean into that and let them think it's true. But yeah, so it's just kind of been I've been playing a bunch of Overwatch, getting some work done, and other than that, not a whole lot.
Cool. Yeah. I spent a little bit of time in the grocery store posting that update video, so check that out, patrons. I also spent some time in Canada again, went to Canadian IKEA, went on an adventure, got some furniture and stuff because I am moving in to a new place. So don't get used to the background behind us now, or behind me now, because it's going to be changing very soon. It's going to be up on a loft. So fancy mode activate in a standing desk that I'm building out of an old door, which is actually really sweet. The desk is going to be pretty awesome, I'm not going to lie. But so I did a little bit of that, played a little bit of Overwatch, played a lot of Heroes of the Storm. I'm getting pretty sick with Tychus, which is kind of cool. Tychus is good again. But that's about it. Playing some Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go is pretty sweet. Team
You'll
Mystic.
catch me in that game someday. So.
Okay, yeah, okay. Let's look at real accounts, bro.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Bust out your real account, bro.
I showed it to you on the pre-show.
Let's see the pedometer, bro.
Oh, well, I don't know one of those.
Head up or shut up. But it's so stupid. But yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. And yeah, so let's move on to what did you guys do last week? Got a lot of stuff.
Hilarious.
I'm going to start off with probably the coolest thing, besides our new patron, that happened last week was, so if you guys didn't check out last week's episode, I definitely suggest it was one of our better episodes, but we talked about the iBuyPower tournament casters, and I'm not going to lie, we didn't know their names off the top of our heads when we were doing the cast, but... Yeah,
it was kind of like at last minute, we almost forgot to
forgot the tournament.
And yeah, so we didn't have the names of the casters.
I was really hoping that you had the names, because it's just expected of me to come up with nicknames and stuff for everyone, because I don't remember anyone's name. I make up names for people. I blame my mother for that. She did that for years. So I don't remember anyone's real name. I make up names for everyone. So, lovingly... called we made up names for the casters, but we do have some clarification for the record, because they did listen to the show. So first off, shout out to all the iBuyPower casters. Part of, I wrote it down. Did I not write it down? They have a Insight Casts. They're like a media group, or something like that. I don't actually know. They can fill us in on what they actually are, but they have casters, and they are Sideshow, Bloodsire, and Bren. Those are the real names.
Yes, and because I asked the real question, Sideshow was kind enough to fill us in on what that room he was casting from was, and he did it in comment form on YouTube from the episode. He said it's a beach hut in his garden, so that way he wouldn't wake up other members of his house when he was, getting excited or hyped up when some big moment happened. Yeah. It was hilarious. I love to ask the real questions and get the real answers. So awesome room, makes complete sense that now that we know what it is, but we're not. We live in the Buffalo area, so we have rooms in our front yard so that your kids don't freeze to death waiting for the bus. We don't have beach huts or anything like that.
That's because there's nothing nearly nice enough to be called a beach around here.
No, yeah. The only things that are shut down every 3 days because the E. coli level is too high to go anywhere near it.
The only thing that's like a beach, if you watch that, I think it was the season, it was episode 9 of season 5 of Game of Thrones. Where, well, I'm not going to reveal anything. If you guys have seen it, that scene, that's what Buffalo looks like all the time,
Yeah.
including the. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's a spoiler-free show. Or else we'd have to donate to the spoiler jar, and I'm not going to do that. But so, Bloodsire, who we lovingly called, kind of looks like John Stamos guy. Super good sport about it, and it was just the funniest thing. When all of them retweeted our episode link, and we're talking about how those are the best nicknames that they'd been called ever. And
Yes.
and also the graphic that InsightCast made where they had the names of all the casters. And I didn't realize until today, before recording the show, that they replaced Bloodsire's name with kind of looks like John Stamos guy. I was dying laughing. So
yeah, it just cracked me up. It was absolutely hilarious. So thank you for having a sense of humor about our ignorance and unpreparedness as leading into the episodes, and being understanding about that. And also, we wanted to make sure you guys got a more personal shout out on the show, so that way they could find you guys. It's at the Bloodsire on Twitter. I really think you should just change it to at kind of looks like John Stamos guy. It's a little bit longer, but I think it's really memorable.
Totally
So
worth it.
Probably work out.
So let's move on. That was just a cool. It's just a cool thing to have that kind of interaction with the community and all that stuff. So huge shout out to them. So we had a couple of questions on text line, and just a reminder to you guys, if you want to text us your questions directly from your phone, you can text us at 716-517-4201, and I will almost certainly respond very quickly. You can ask people who have used it before. It's true. So JJ, one of our fans, asked if there's a place that is not Reddit to find teammates on console. So him and a couple of friends are looking to play competitively on the console, and they're looking for teammates, and the quote from the text is, "Reddit is a scary place." Is accurate. There 100% accurate. Is there somewhere else? Off the top of my head, I honestly don't know. And we did mention a resource last week, or maybe it was the week before. I don't remember. I'm trying to bring it up right now. At OWCL Gaming, that is the place we talked about last week for competitive console tournaments. So I would tweet them, check them out, check out the website at OWCL Gaming. Contact them, see if there's just a good place for that. Death, do you know any places there like is there like a console thread in like one of the Discord channels, or?
I'm not too sure. I haven't seen anything on Discord, obviously, because the voice chat's going to be handled through the console clients and things like that. A really good reminder from McLovin's here. One of the new sponsors for the tournaments is PF.GG.
Oh, that's right.
Which is a great party finder tool that you can use. And I'm looking at it now. I just went to the website to make sure there are filters for PS4 and Xbox. So definitely make sure you check that out. And he also said your local gamers club. Look for anything on there. That's a great place to find like-minded people. It might not be focused on Overwatch, but I think Overwatch has just been so popular. It's going to be hard to find gamer clubs and things like that don't include Overwatch in some capacity at the moment. So nothing else other than that I know of. I'm guessing PF.GG is going to be your best resource, but I don't even own a working console anymore.
Yeah, neither do I. But yeah, definitely, I completely forgot about
OverwatchLF.com.
I completely forgot about PF.GG, who is a sponsor of the Gosu Gamers weekly tournaments, so shout outs to them for that. And the only other place I would think is maybe posting something on the official Overwatch forums. I don't know if it's going to be any less scary than Reddit. It's probably a lot of the same people, but it's at least moderated by Blizzard, so it might not be as scary. So hope that helps you out. So moving right along. So we have a little bit of a I don't know, controversy here, Death. I need you to rule in here. So Scott, one of our patrons, one of our longest running fans, aka Malcarade, texted us today on the text line, but he texted about the wrong podcast in hopes to just get a shout out on the show. So, well, I mean, I guess it worked. So scum. It worked because I brought it up. So I guess shame on me. But should it count for the get a mention on every show?
I mean, you said his name, so that's all he's looking for. So we already gave it.
Well, I guess it worked.
It's all your fault.
Yep, that's me. And we got another. This message was earlier on. It was from Jugs Gotcha, who is also a patron. Asked about what happened in the Cloud9 Code 7 match. He mentioned that Adam died and the team kind of fell apart. I don't know if you remember that match from last week.
When did this message come in? Do you know?
It would have been between last weekend and the most.
So not like yesterday.
Not like yesterday. It was before that. It was before. It was the week before.
So Comcast Nation or Time Warner Nation struck again in all likelihood, and they were forced to play down a player for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Overwatch doesn't have a pause function. It also doesn't have a save replay, continue from replay function like exists in other Blizzard games. Hopefully we get to see those coming up in the future, but we're just not, unfortunately, equipped with those right now. So it's near impossible. I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you're envious, Cloud9, anybody. If you're playing 5-on-6, you're probably going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed that when these teams do suffer the loss of a player, I really think they should try and change their lineups or something. Like, you can sit back and play like a really passive offense and wait for a pick. You used to see it all the time with Widowmakers. Like, why isn't somebody going to Widowmaker to try to get a pick to even the team fight and then rush in? It's something that kind of has bugged me in the past. Like, they'll just sit there down a Lucio and not switch anything up to try.
Right. It's like they mess up because they messed up. Like, you need to adjust to the situation. It's like, well, we're down a player. We just got to keep playing like they're still there, bros. It's like,
I mean, in reality, it almost certainly doesn't matter because you're probably not going to win anyway.
Probably not.
It's like 98%
why
sure.
not play to your outs?
Right. Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with that. But for the most part, they just lost due to a disconnection. Yeah. It actually happened this week. TSM stole a map against Cloud9 in an event yesterday. Yeah, we'll be talking a little bit more about that in a little bit. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
Just no reason or logic whatsoever. I've always liked TSM. I don't know. It's probably just a logo or the name or something. I just have always been a fan of theirs, even though I don't care about MOBA esports really at all.
I liked TSM because I was playing League of Legends before TSM started, and I used to watch Reginald videos. Hey guys, this is Reginald. I'm gonna pick some Tristana and just farm some noobs on my Smurf account. And he would just go in with like a group of 5 like pro players and just crush kids. And I don't know why I got so much joy from watching him just stomp kids in his Smurf account. But it's like the most enjoyable thing to watch ever.
I used to enjoy smurfing in League of Legends when I played it. But like, I had a Teemo only account where I would just go play nothing but Teemo, and it was a ton of fun.
But just imagine smurfing, but you're playing with 5 pro players and just completely decimating kids for YouTube views. Like that was right. It wasn't Twitch back then; it was just YouTube. But it was good times. And also Jugs. Last thing Jugs mentioned was, and this was kind of a little bit of a foreshadowing for the future, it's also nice to see McCree back in action. And boy,
justice ain't gonna dispense itself.
Justice ain't gonna dispense itself. No, it is not. So a little bit of a note as to what's coming. So, but Death, you also mentioned we did have another iTunes review. You want to go over that one, buddy?
We do, yeah. 02EPH is the name here. Gave us a 5-star review. Says, love HighNoon. It fills the gap that my other favorite Overwatch podcast, good friends of ours, Omnic Lab, if you're not familiar with them, check it out. If you're a really advanced player, it might not be for you, but if you're in the middle or lower end, they go over a lot of strategy. I think they're going through and discussing individual heroes now. They just had like a Lucio episode, I believe.
So you're saying it's the perfect podcast for me?
Yes, for the pleb, mid-tier, extremely mediocre players like the plebs. But yeah, so his other favorite Overwatch podcast, Omniclad, doesn't cover the competitive scene. Love their chemistry, sense of humor too. Lots of fun to listen to. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. And anybody out there new to the show, if you haven't left us an iTunes review, it is basically the currency with which podcasts operate on.
Yeah.
So if you want to show us some support, that's probably the number one thing you can do to help us get our name out there. We are very slowly moving up the list of Overwatch podcasts, and that makes us that much more visible, accessible, things like that. So please do head over there and give us.
It's going to get us that much closer to fulfilling the new goal that I tweeted about for the show, and it's actually gonna segue us nicely into our regularly scheduled segment. Oh, let's break it! Yeah! That time it was significantly louder. It's awesome. I hope rip Twitch chat ears. Yes, we're gonna break it down. The new goal for the show, my personal goal, and it's a personal life goal, personal podcast goal. I want to get, and here is an open invitation, if you are listening, Mr. Shaquille O'Neal. I want you on the show to talk about your entry into the Overwatch scene. I don't know if you saw this, Death. I actually just saw it today. Shaq tweeted at Seagull and said, hey, you and your Overwatch boys should come join my team, nrg.gg. Let's do this. How do you say no? The bell toll. The bell tolls for you, Seagull. Quit your team. Drop Luminosity. I could not drop a team faster. If Shaq's like, come play for me. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Absolutely. I don't care. He'll probably buy out my contract.
It probably wouldn't affect their popularity at all, just because I feel like that nobody cares about the other 5 people on the team, but LG is still the most popular team out there because Seagull's on it and he's the most popular streamer. Yeah. If he's playing in a match, it instantly becomes the most watched Overwatch stream on Twitch. That's clearly why Shaq wants him. But yeah,
Shaq is
shout-outs officially confirmed. Shaq, you've got to come on the show. You can lay out your case for why you should take LG's team away from
why you should take why you should take Seagull away from Luminosity. And also, Shaq, if you're looking for a mediocre rank 52 Zarya player, you're speaking to one right now.
And if it doesn't work out, I got a whole team that would probably be willing to sign up with.
That's true. You know? Also, if you start talking to Shaq about a team, I am joining the team. You can kick someone off. Probably McLovins. No, not McLovins. I got you, brother. But let's not spend too much time. Official shout out to Shaq. Let's see if we can get Shaq on the show before we get Hex. I think there's a pretty good before we get Hex again. I think there's
I was hoping for him today, but then there's the Alienware monthly melee going on.
He mentioned that he doesn't have a free day of not casting until this Thursday.
Oh jeez.
So busy man. We are going to get Hex back on the show at some point. For sure. But I'm hoping we get Shaq on the show before then. Or maybe even T-Pain. I would love to have T-Pain on the show, too.
Yeah, I'll be busy that
week. Rip. Okay, but we also, in a little bit more serious news, we had some big names enter the Overwatch game. Fnatic, one of the top esports teams in the world, as well as TSM, Team Solo Mid, another huge esports name, entered the fray.
Yeah, Fnatic picked up Nubris, so the kind of half NA, half EU team there really kind of leaves them better equipped than most to travel, to either server to play on their tournaments. Also leaves them less equipped to play on any of them at any given time. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's worked out for them. I was
thinking the same thing because the casters mentioned it. They're like, they're like equipped to play on anyone. It's like, no, they're actually just mediocre on both. That doesn't help you.
I can't decide if I like that strategy or not, but I do really like the players on Fnatic.
Yeah.
So
here's why it's bad. It would be good if all teams had to play on both NA and EU, and you had to have like an aggregate of both of the results of both as your final results. But that's not the case. You only play one server at a time, and that is a contained result in and of itself. So being half good on NA and half good on EU instead of 100% good on one and 0% on other is not the same. 100% on one is better than 50 on both, I guess. Unless you count the number of if they I don't know. I'm not going to go into it. I just think it's worse than just having a dedicated team. Maybe on an episode where we don't have a ton of other stuff to talk about, I can go more into the theory of it. But long story short, I don't think it's good in general.
Yeah, well, on the other end here, TSM signed Graviton Surge, so a team that was, Graviton Surge became Code 7 again, and then now has become TSM. So since we are still getting confused with their last switch...
I thought Graviton Surge was... Did you mess it up again? I think you did.
Probably.
Graviton Surge became...
Code 7 became
Misfits.
TSM.
Yeah. Code 7 was... we did this last week, too.
Yeah, I'll never get this right.
Graviton Surge is definitely Misfits, though.
I don't need to anymore, because now I can just call them TSM forever. Yeah.
TSM is TSM.
So a really strong performance from them this week in the tournaments we'll be talking about. So it was really good to see them come out and represent their new team very, very strongly. And we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of these qualifiers going on right now to lead into some huge, big money tournaments. Mm-hmm. There's even going to be a tournament played out on television rather than on Twitch.
Yeah.
$300,000 prize pool in that one.
Do we know who's casting that?
I don't off the top of my head, but
I mean, do we have they announced it? Is what I mean.
That I've seen, but it might be out there.
Oh man, what if it's CP and X? How cool would that
be? Nice, but their qualifiers are all being done by Jorisar and some guy I've never heard of prior to this weekend. So,
gotcha.
We'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure.
I like Jorisar too.
Yeah, I'm a big Jorisar fan. I'm still getting used to the other guys. They haven't made me dislike them, but it's just anytime it's a different voice streaming, or commentating, it takes a little getting used to decide how you feel about it.
Yeah. But moving right along, I've got a real quick one. This was just a cool video I saw. It was the silent Lucio wall ride buff. I didn't hear about this until a couple of days after. They didn't really talk about it in the patch notes, but and for the most part, I didn't really think it was going to make a big difference. Long story short, Lucio can wall ride longer than he could before. This presents a really cool and interesting play on the... What is that? It's not Hanamura. It's Lijiang Towers. The third point. Oh, old third point. I don't remember. Do you know what the actual map is called?
Command Center, I think.
Command Center. Lijiang Tower Command Center. So that big old room, big circular room. You can go across... You can go around it twice with the speed boost. Like all the way around the circle twice completely with the speed boost. That is pretty sick, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, we really should learn the name of these points. I always just still refer to them by their old number. But the old point 2 here as well, there's kind of that inner room where it was much smaller, but you're able to kind of go around in circles there as well. And I haven't tried it there. You used to have to jump up for every new sectional wall, but I'm not 100% sure if it's kind of stayed that way or not, as that might be more about it not being a smooth circle all the way around and it being a group of disjointed flat walls. Yeah. But I haven't heard about this until literally when I was reading the patch notes, so I'll have to get in there and check it out since I'm Lucio again.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Just in general, I love Lucio. But as we're about to talk about, we might not see as much Lucio as we once did, because now it's a Zenyatta Diva world, and also McCree.
It is, yeah. The meta right now has been really, really stale, and it does pretty much auto-include Lucio again. Mercy's almost disappeared, but the reason is because Zenyatta, Diva, and McCree seem to be 3 characters that you just have to be playing at the moment.
The golden the golden trifecta. There we go. I messed it up.
We're also seeing, on payloads, obviously Reinhardt's still really, really popular. When you get into King of the Hill, you see Zarya and Winston come back into things. Roadhog's fallen off for everybody not named Harblu. We're seeing less of him, but when you do see him, it kind of brings Reaper into the mix for that second DPS player with McCree. But otherwise, we've seen a ton of Genji in the meta again, pairing with the McCree. So that's been really, really cool to see. And everything right now, this whole weekend, really seemed to be based around that set lineup. And I don't know if it's just because these teams feel like if they're all playing the same thing, it goes back to the best teams are going to win. That's a fair strategy.
It makes sense, yeah.
at the same time, there's times you should know. I mean, anybody playing against Envious should be expecting to lose, right? So shake it up, try
Just
something different.
statistically at least.
Yeah, we really haven't seen that, and really, Envious has been the ones changing it up. They played some May on King's Row last night, which was really, really interesting to see. Offense and defense. Tailspin loves his projectiles, and that's what May's right click is.
It's basically just a Pharah, right?
A little bit, yeah, like a grounded Pharah. But you have a really nice ability to just wall off entire pushes. So coming to mind, some of the coolest plays I saw from it were the second phase. As you move into the second phase on King's Row for the streets, you have that archway that the offense has to pass through, and a couple times, either on the attack or on their approach or on their retreat after a team fight, was able to wall people off at that archway and keep them separated from the rest of their team to finish out the kills and stagger the deaths a little bit. It was a lot of fun to see this weekend, and really one thing, to kind of segue us into the next thing we're talking about, not much Ana going on in competitive play.
Yeah, like I mentioned at the top of the show, we first saw the first tournament with Ana being out. We saw Ana banned. So, ban Ana mode, banana mode, ban it. That we got someone on Twitter with that. That was
we did. That's our favorite thing, and I almost wish that more tournaments would ban Ana, so that way it could gain some traction. But really, it's just the ESL tournaments are banning her at the moment because the other qualifiers didn't have Ana as a playable character. So it's really been kind of hang up there as they're trying to keep those the same.
That's silly, though, because it's like, oh, well, Ana wasn't a playable character, but also McCree was worse, Zenyatta was worse, Diva was worse. So, like, do they have, like, legacy versions? Are they playing on the console where, like, the updates haven't happened yet? Like, that's just silly. Let people play Ana. People aren't playing Ana anyway.
Right, and it's been interesting. I don't necessarily understand why they're doing it, because, like you said, you're not reverting all those other balance changes, and Blizzard is going to now balance the game for the fact that Ana exists. That might be part of their reasoning for allowing McCree to be so powerful, or probably not, but it
maybe Zen.
In reality. It could be Zen, but I don't really know. And we haven't really seen her take over too much. Misfits and Nevix were really the ones that were trying to stick with her and make her work. Really powerful ultimate. The problem with Ana right now is that she's kind of being played from the range of McCree. People are shooting from the hip. They're not sniping a ton with her. Her heals per second, as we talked about last week, is technically higher than Mercy's.
At least can be.
Yeah.
Right.
It works out not by a large number when you factor in reloads, which Mercy doesn't have to go through, but it is higher, and that's a significant bit of information there. So we'll have to wait and see. I think she's going to become more viable, because the sleep is like forever. When you sleep dart somebody, they're out, and as long as your Diva's splash damage from the huge range of buckshot she throws out, doesn't accidentally hit the person, then they're going to be out of the fight for a good amount of time. And if that's a healer, a Mercy, or something like that, that's going to be a big deal. Even if it's a tank, one of the easiest things to win a team fight is to get a tank down. That's why I really have been liking Reaper quite a bit recently on my team. So we'll have to wait and see. It's not clear yet whether or not she is going to be at the top level of competitive play. She's definitely viable. I think she's going to end up with a niche role. One of the places I decided I like her quite a bit is defending Route 66. You can just stay back on that cliff with your whole team on top of Big Earls, which is where you want them to be anyways. And you just have great sight lines to your whole team, and the lack of mobility isn't much of a problem, because you're so far away from everybody that you're probably not going to get dove. And if you're good at hitting that sleep dart, they'll be sleeping for more than long enough for your teammates to come back to help you out.
True. I think what's going to happen if we've seen her like any of the other characters, they're going to put her in. People aren't going to use her enough. Someone's either going to find out that she's been broken all along and just completely opened it up, or she's not going to get played at all. They'll buff her, and then she'll be broken, and we'll see her in the meta. That's kind of what's happened with almost any character that hasn't seen play.
Yeah, it's really tough too at the moment. That's probably very accurate. And I think part of the problem is right now is I don't think she pairs well with Zenyatta. Very similar to Zenyatta, it's harder to switch between heroes that you're healing. It's much easier to do with Mercy. You just shift over to them and left clicking, and you're fine. So she's really kind of like a spot healer, somebody that's going to take care of one person that gets low and then allow them back into the fight. So you're really going to want either a Mercy or preferably a Lucio on the team with an Ana. And right now Zenyatta is kind of dominating that role as that spot healer, and just Discord Orb dispenser is really what Zenyatta is and why he's so powerful right now.
Yeah.
Because a Discord Orb on somebody just makes it incredibly easier to take them out of the fight. But we'll have to wait and see exactly how everything shapes up. There are teams, it really looked like Misfits was committing to her and saying, no, we're playing her, we think she's that good, and we want to kind of force her into the metagame a little bit. So Nevix was playing her quite a bit, and the nano boost is just disgusting. It's dirty. It takes points over if you're trying to take a CP map.
Yeah.
You just pop it on the Reinhardt at the right time, put it on a Diva when they're not going to be using their ultimate, or a Roadhog ultimate with that. If there's a wall behind them, is really devastating.
Yeah.
Even it almost allows Zarya to be her own follow-up on a Graviton. It's so powerful. So I've really liked the effect that's had. I'm unfortunately not as good with Ana as I thought I would be, and it's all about that sleep dart. I think I've maybe hit like one sleep dart because I like to keep my range really far back.
It's one more than I have hit.
Right? It's just a really weird projectile. If you've spent a lot of time playing Mei, you probably think I'm crazy because you're used to that really slow, delayed projectile shot. But for the most part, I've been having some trouble landing my sleep darts, and that's really kind of her most powerful tool outside of the ultimate, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of to put a bow on Ana, and we talked about it a little bit on some of the other episodes. We saw some moments of greatness, albeit during a stream from Seagull. Him playing Ana was just insane. I think that if we give it a little bit more time, she might find a place. I think I agree with that. She's not going to be a top tier. She's not going to be an all defense, all attack on all maps type of character. I think she's going to be a niche. She's going to find a niche role and play on certain maps and do a very specific set of things, and she'll probably do them very well from a skilled player. I think she's high skill cap. I think she's very fine-tuned in what she does and what she wants to do, and I think that's not a bad place for her, honestly.
Yeah, throw that out in solo queue, by the way. The power of if you're somebody that doesn't have a ranked team and goes into competitive mode solo, or if you're a quick play specialist, feel free to use her, because just your power level of the nano boost is going to win almost any team fight. If you maybe have one friend with you, make sure he plays something that comps well with it. But we really do focus on the tournament plays and the very, very top pro compositions and things like that, where she'll, like we've been saying, probably struggle a little bit and only have a couple spots.
Yeah, I mean, the second and third Ana that are also going to be on your team in quick match probably not going to be as useful, but
all three Anas nano boosted. OP.
Can you double nano boost one person? I'm not even going to ask that question. Let's move on to. I think the answer to that question is too dangerous for quick match. Let's move on to some of the tournament talk. Going to go through it real quick. We're running a little bit late. We saw, and we started the week off how we always do, or the weekend off, with King of the Watch, number 16. We saw We United in this one go up against Pretz in the win-in match for King of the Watch. And then we saw, finally, SG1 didn't just get their blank check, or I guess their $300 check from Creation Esports and Stream.me. We United finally took over the seat as the King of the Watch this week. So nice to see that. SG1 finally dethroned. Moving on to the Ghost of Gamers EU number 17. We saw We United again. Bringos, Choke OW, and Evox in the top four of that one. And we saw We United take down Bringos 3-0 in the finals. We then saw in the GGNA 17, We United, CLG, Melty, and Slow Motion. And we saw We United take this one down too. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Other tournaments we saw this week, interesting one, E-League qualifier. We'll talk about that tournament series in just a second. The NA qualifier number 1, we saw Envy, LG, Cloud9, and TSM. And Envy ended up winning against TSM in the finals 3-0. And then for the EU side of the E-League qualifiers, we saw Anox OW, Rogue, Creation, and Misfits. And Misfits ended up winning against Anox 3-1 in that one. And last thing we want to talk about, specifically from the tournament ticker, the ESL qualifiers. We don't have the results. I'm not sure if it's because the matches aren't over, or if there was a blip in the reporting, but we didn't have those. But one thing to note about those tournaments, like we already talked about, was that they are in the Ban Ana mode.
Yeah, we wanted to mention that tournament's going on. We looked at the event page, and unless they're qualifying 4 teams from every single qualifier, then we're not 100% sure who made it in. It looked like the brackets kind of ended early. There was only like 2 rounds on them. So it's very possible they're qualifying 4 every time for each week, and then it'll be a 16-round playoff. But
yeah, that might be it.
That could be it. But either way, there's now 12 teams qualified. There'll be another week. But just know that tournament's going on, because if you're like me and you want to watch all the VODs every week anyways, just know they're going on, and there's some competitive matches over there with some really good teams, so you can check them out and see what the meta is. Although it's a weird meta, like we said, until it moves into the finals and they play that out. Yeah, there'll be a weird rule set.
Yeah, and I would be interested to see if we don't see some high-level teams. So, the weekly grind is real, right? You have to play week in and week out in the GG weeklies, the other random tournaments that are going on, the King of the Launch, whatever. You bring out your comp, your standard comp. If you're a better team, you're going to win, right? I'm interested to see, and I actually I got to go back and watch all of that E-League qualifier, because that top 4 is just stacked. I don't know if we've seen a top 4 as stacked as that one.
It's definitely been a little while, and if you're wondering why we're not seeing those teams in the Gosu Gamers weeklies, it's because the E-League does the first half of their qualifier for EU early in the day on Saturday. Okay, so that's when the Gosu Gamers weekly is kicking off. Almost none of the teams can enter that. And on Sunday, you still have the best 8 teams or so still in the running, and the NA always immediately follows the EU for the qualifiers. So it's really a full day over there. I think it's twitch.tv/Overwatch Open is where you can find those. And like you said, it is hugely stacked on the NA side, and specifically on the EU side, I think it was really stacked, and surprisingly, because Anox isn't a team I was very familiar with.
No.
They destroyed Reunited, who was the number 1 team in the European bracket going into the tournament. And I was really, really surprised by that. I really wanted to see Creation overtake Misfits, so that way they could play against the number 2 team in EU, and we could really find out what was going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes Reunited has a bad day. We've seen it before. But Anox even looked great. They even came out against Misfits, and I think they won the first map and then got swept after that. But they looked really, really strong, so it made a huge case for them to be one of the top teams in the EU side of things. But I do still think it's hard, because we're not seeing a lot of inter-conference play, and hopefully we do in the E-League finals once that the qualifiers run their course. I really hope we get them into a LAN environment and see these EU and NA teams go up against each other. But right now it feels like there's a big gap between Envy and everybody else, and then I kind of want to see where LG, C9, and TSM. I've been enamored by the NA side of things lately, because it's like a struggle. It's a fight. It almost feels like in EU they're struggling to not lose, but in the NA side of things, they're struggling for that. They're really fighting tooth and nail for that second place. And next week, the qualifiers for the NA side of things for that tournament should be phenomenal, because Envy won't even be there, because they'll have already qualified. They can just not play in any more of the qualifiers, and then we'll be left with the rest of these teams to battle it out, and not, like LG got knocked out early by Envy, so how do you know where they stack up in the tournament? You really don't. I want to see them go against TSM. I want to see if they're getting better and improving with this meta game, as they've got, gods on McCree and things like that, and we've seen him just be such a ridiculous hit scan specialist. And if if Genji's in the meta, there's not many people you'd rather have playing your Genji than Seagull. So
true story. And yeah, just another note about those E-League qualifiers. We mentioned a little bit before, but the finals of these are going to be on real TV. On E-League, which is currently, right now, is just Counter-Strike, I believe, on TBS. Or, I'm pretty sure it's on TBS.
Yeah, I believe it will be TBS.
It's just such a cool thing that Overwatch is getting the E-League spot right now.
Especially this young in the esport, too. Usually you don't see a game take off as an esport until about 2 years into its life cycle. And the fact that I've been really encouraged by this, that Overwatch has kind of been up there. Not the tops. We still got, your MOBAs, your Counter-Strikes kind of running things at the moment, but they're very established. Everybody has their team. Everybody's getting used to the Overwatch lineups. The lineups are shifting, but still they've been there. They've been joking about it on the Gosu Gamers Twitch streams when they're doing the tournaments, is that Gosu Gamers used to be a Twitch channel where you could find a lot of different games, but Overwatch has been so popular and there's been so many events going that they've been like 24/7 Overwatch for I don't even know how long, hence the lack of being able to get Hexagram.
And I think it's a really great decision. I think they had the choice when Overwatch started. They were going to run Overwatch no matter what, right? When they started. But when Overwatch, basically right during the release, or I guess kind of a little bit open beta was a little bit of a trickle of it, but once the game got released, that's when it was like, boom, this is real. They had a choice. They could have stayed, diversified with their number of games and competed against the ESLs, this, that, and the other thing of the world, but they decided, for better or for worse, obviously we think for better, to go, basically mono Overwatch, and I think if it hasn't already paid off, I think it's going to pay off handsomely, as it seems like every couple of weeks we're seeing another huge event announced, and the clock's ticking, man. We're gonna start seeing BlizzCon stuff soon. We're gonna start seeing BlizzCon teasers. We're gonna start seeing Overwatch content that they're gonna reveal at BlizzCon. We're gonna start seeing whatever the tournament or grand championships are going to be at BlizzCon. We're going to see me at BlizzCon. I just had to throw that in there.
He likes to rub it in because I won't go to Anaheim and deal with the heat over there.
I mean, it was like 90-something this weekend in Buffalo, so...
Yeah, it's been brutal this week, for sure.
But it's not humid there, so... get Shrek. But let's... that E-League, super great. Really exciting time to be in Overwatch. I mean, we've been saying that since we started the cast, but it's truly starting to come to fruition, not just from our show's perspective, which again is amazing to us, but also from the Overwatch as an esport in general perspective. It's just it's going huge. And one last thing I wanted to talk about, I mean, we kind of glossed over it because, E-League is such a big thing, but Reunited did like their best IDD QD impression and just won everything this week. Their best IDD QD, best Cloud9 impression. I don't know if we've seen another... Have we seen another team take every tournament? I guess probably Envious, but they're kind of like...
Cloud9 didn't play in absolutely everything, so we haven't seen them like
play a lot of. They didn't do EUs.
They had that stretch where if they entered it, they won it for sure. So it's really great to see them, continue to level up. And I never understood, and you don't know, we never know the story behind it, and I'm not passing any judgment, but from the outside, without the backstory and the information, I never understood why Reunited would have gotten rid of Too Easy. The only problem I ever had with him is he's a bit of a BMer, and it's just not my style, but whatever. He was always a phenomenal player, seemed to be a bit of a highlight, and so I was very surprised to see them get rid of him, and at the same time, I'm really happy to see a quality player like him able to find a new home where he's able to be successful and win some tournaments, and hopefully get a sponsorship pretty soon.
Yeah, it seems like, weeks like this, we have seen teams get deals from that. We saw that with Graviton Surge, and they didn't even put up as crazy a performance as We United did this week.
They just came out of nowhere for second place and managed to get a team over it.
Yeah. A couple other notes. We saw Slasher, one of the Gosu I would say part-time Gosu commentators. He's on some of the casts. He was a fill-in for We United, so he's got a Gosu EU Weekly champion or a title under his belt. Always nice to have. Someday, Death. You'll actually play in an event. I'm not even hoping for the wins yet. I just want you to play so I can root for someone.
This new team, I really think, will at least get in there and play. How well we do will depend on our practices and things like that. But they seem to be much more on the ball and into practicing decent hours. So I'm really excited about that.
And the last thing I wanted to mention about the tournaments was we saw Melty do Melty things again. They made a nice run, honestly. I watched a lot of that, the end of that tournament. Melty made a really nice run, and then they got Caster cursed. Casters thought that they were favorites to at least go to the finals and put up some numbers against We United. We United, of course, was on fire this weekend, but I think Melty had a shot, and Melty did Melty things, and they melted.
Melted down?
They melted down, pun intended. They're just the perpetual, top 8, top 4 team, which is not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. Melty will beat your random Overwatch team. I'm not talking to you specifically, Deathball. I'm talking about to the viewers. Your team cannot beat, but they definitely would. They are not the grouchy Desperados. No. Actually, where was Northern Gaming Red this weekend? I didn't see them do anything.
There was a bit of drama that we're not going to follow or get into, partially because I missed it and partially because we have a bit of a history of skipping over that stuff. But they had a roster change this week, and I know Bird is now playing for another team, and I'm not 100% sure. I didn't see them enter anything, but I do believe that's why, because I think Bird actually played in one of the Gosu events.
Yeah, that's it. And I said that Melty was the last thing we talked about, but I want to talk about this point really quickly. We're in a really interesting time for the esport, because we're at the point where we're seeing top tier esports organizations sign teams. We talked about earlier, Fnatic, TSM, Cloud9, Team Liquid, Luminosity. There's many other professional teams as well that have signed teams for real money, real contracts. So in the minds of people watching against teams that are playing against Cloud9, you just assume, okay, this is a professional team. They are doing this for a living. This is their job. When in reality, it's like, for a lot of these teams, I mean, Northern Gaming Red is sponsored, but for a lot of these teams, it's their support can't show up because he's sick today, or they're going through a roster change, so we're not going to sign up for the tournament this week. It's like, oh, well, the Blue Jays left fielder got traded, so they're just not going to show up for the game today. It's like, in our minds, it's like, no, you're playing the game no matter what. It's scheduled. That's just how it is. But in reality, it's not. We're not quite there. It's still like we're transitioning from amateur to professional in a lot of ways, and it's just kind of interesting to see that, really like in real time happen. So definitely, I think we're definitely going to start seeing, if not before BlizzCon, I think definitely after BlizzCon, we're going to see a dedicated pro league where it's like, okay, the Gosu Opens are the open events. They're for anyone. They're for the Magic players out there. They're the Star City events that the grinders play. Like the level 1 for you to really make your name at the Gosu events. But then you level up. You get sponsored. You get good. You move on to whatever the pro league becomes. Hoping maybe it's a full-time Overwatch E-League. Fingers crossed. That would be sick. But I think we're going to start seeing that happen, and I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's likely to come from one of these. I never followed the Team Fortress 2 competitive scene very much, but we're starting to see, that's where the Bloodsire and Sideshow, and that's where those guys came from. And so as we see those organizations and those people come over, their ideas will come over, and a lot of their established formats and things like that will come with them. So hopefully one of them decides to pop one of these up for Overwatch and get something with at least enough of a backing to draw. It doesn't have to draw NVS but if it can get some of those second tier teams to want to do it, it can create some really good content for Twitch and YouTube. So
yeah, that'd be great. And if kind of looks like John Stamos guy wants to come on the show and promote the event that he starts,
yes,
open invitation, buddy, or and for what it's worth, any of the iBuyPower casters, if you guys are listening and you want to come on the show, promote anything like that, or you just want to come and hang out for an hour or so, open invitation, guys. Really appreciate it. So let's move on. We went on a couple of tangents, but they were, well, some of them were off topic, whatever. One thing I put in here, and I'm not going to go over it. I'm not even really going to talk about it all. I'm just going to say to check it out. There's an interesting look at the Overwatch Ranked ELO and MMR system that one of the designers of Street Fighter wrote, and I read it a little bit. I glazed over it and it looked really interesting. There's some really good insights on it. Link will be in the description. So check that out. Let us know what you think. I'm going to go back through and read it in depth because I think there's a lot of good insights to be had from it. The main one being that maybe the rank system that we have right now is not all great. It's not perfect.
Yeah, it seems a little bit wrong that the pro players are now creating secondary accounts, although that has brought back Pluppy back into the mix, which
Plupster.
is always great to see.
Yes.
I do love seeing him stream when he's on his Smurf account because the name Pluppy's there again.
The Plupster.
So we were always big fans of him. I became significantly less of a fan of his when he changed his name over to Tavik.
But I mean, he is one of my only subscriptions, but he would be even more of a subscription if he were the Plupster instead of Tavik.
My problem with it is mainly that the screenshot I have of me killing him is under the name Pluppy, and now that name means significantly less if he plays under Tavik.
Let's just say this. If you would have sent me a screenshot of you killing Tavik, I just wouldn't have believed you. So the Plupster, I knew that actually happened. So check that article out. Really interesting, actually. Just a really nice thought piece from someone who has a lot of experience in that specific area. So a lot of good insights. And last thing, we already kind of talked about it a little bit, but your match of the week that you suggested, Death, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. So as I said before, I was really impressed with the way Anox was able to come out and beat some of the better teams in the EU bracket for the it was the E-League qualifier. I gave you for the match of the week the finals against Misfits where they lost, but at the same time you could always go back and watch their match against Reunited and see that. It was just a little bit of a better match. There was a little more give and take. Not a lot of that this week. Teams were better or they were worse and they lost. XO in a lot of cases. Yeah. And really one of the only differences of that was in the King of the Watch. We United won 4-2 over SG1. That was a best of 7, but I want to say We United came out to a 2 or 3 map lead on that. So if it was a smaller round, it would have been quick.
That might have been the closest. That's definitely the closest King of the Watch finals that we've seen in a long time. Mostly because SG1 has just stomped everyone that's come through.
And that was definitely a good match, too. So the VOD for that should be up on Jorisar's YouTube channel. Feel free to check that out as well. But Anox versus Misfits in the E-League EU Finals, I thought was a really good match. Great to see. Just wanted to highlight a new team there, as there wasn't a lot of really close matches between the top teams this week. Yeah, and I don't have a specific match, but I am going to suggest you do the same as I am going to this week and just watch as much of that top 4 of the E-League NA qualifier as you can, because you can't go wrong watching Envious, Luminosity, Cloud9, and TSM. Said Cloud9.
Cloud9. I did the thing that you're not supposed to, but I'm also not a caster, so oh well. It'd feel bad for Cloud9 too, because they had a kind of DC again this week, Cloud9. And I really think they would have been in the finals against Envy, and I want to see Cloud9 be that team to take Envy down again. I don't know. TSM put up a fight in their finals. You'll see it. There's spots where Envy needed overtime to take points, things like that. Yeah. And it was really interesting. So the whole top bracket is a great inclusion as well. But I just chose to kind of highlight that new team on the EU side. Yeah, definitely a good match from you. You actually did the work and came up with a good match, and I took a cop out because it looked fun. Classic Team Mystic. But we're gonna wrap up the show there. We're not that much over time, but we had a lot to go over. I'm actually surprised we got to it all in this amount of time. Death, let's start off. Where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me on Twitter at D3ATHBL0W. I'm also noticing you guys are sure following me on Twitch, even though I'm not streaming. I recognize a lot of the names as podcast fans. I really appreciate it. So I'll give it every now and then. I'll give the Twitch name as well, and it's pretty much the same thing with an underscore in the middle. Twitch.tv/D3ATH_BL0W.
And you can always find me at _Blevins on Twitter. You can find me on Twitch when I stream. I'm in the same kind of boat. The streaming has kind of been put onto the wayside, focusing on the other stuff, but twitch.tv/theblevins. But what you can find at twitch.tv/theblevins is the live recording of the podcast you're listening to right now every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. So check that out. You can give the channel a follow if you want to hear us live and talk to us and stuff. We did a little bit of chat recognition. You can also find the podcast at HighNoonPodcast.com. Ooh, website. All the cool links and stuff are there. iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. All that stuff's there. You can find us at CreationEsports.com. Yes, CreationEsports.com. We are there. One of our great partners, as well as Maturino, who is another great partner. Another just great partner of Overwatch esports in general. We've talked to them many times. You can also find us at patreon.com/HighNoonPodcast if you want to support the show, keep up to date with the episodes and some exclusive stuff. Feel free to support us there. You can also text us at 716-517-4201. I will respond. I will say something back, and it won't just be an automated response. I can guarantee you that because I haven't set up automated responses. So but I think that's everything. That seems short. I feel like our outro is usually longer, but I think I've gotten good at saying it really fast. Did I forget anything, Death?
I don't think so.
All right.
Seems to be good.
Oh, I did forget one thing. It's high noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. He threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now guides my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
I realized I did forget one thing. That thing is shout out to Adam Hoke who made that awesome McCree song that you just heard. This is part of the real show. And again, I'm giving out Blevins brownie points to anyone who listens to the end of the show and points this out before the recording of the next show. 2 people tried to point out to me that they listened to the end of the show and they wanted the brownie points, but it wasn't until we already recorded the next show. So brownie points not awarded, but if you bring it up to me or tweet at me or text us before the recording of the next show, it will count. Okay. Bye, guys.